Yeah, no, it should be a good session today. Let me just pull this up. I'll minimize this and we'll get started. So welcome to the October 2021 Power BI and Data Analytics for Enviro session. For those people that haven't joined us before, just a bit of housekeeping in relation to these monthly meetups that we run. So yeah, best experience, use Teams app. You know, we've all been sort of using Teams long enough to know that's the way that's probably best played. Just as a courtesy, mute yourself when not speaking, but by all means, if you have questions for Felipe, when we have the question and answer point in time, feel free to come off mute and ask them direct, or otherwise feel free to write in the chat and then we'll save up those questions for that time. Just, yeah, as a notice, as most people probably know, this session's being recorded and then we'll share it afterwards on our YouTube channel as well as in the blog as well on our website. And just as a Teams tip, in terms of when screens are being shared, in case you know, if you hold Control and scroll with your mouse, you can zoom in on different features if you need to do that. Just being based in Victoria in Australia, just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that I'm presenting or speaking to you from today, the people and the elders of the Boon, Wurrung and the Bunurong people, which are members of the Kulin Nation. Just pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And this is one of the photos from the local area. Yeah, so it's just to appreciate the sort of, you know, land and water and the nature that we are lucky to have and yeah, have at our doorstep. Yeah. And on top of that, here in Australia this week, we've got Australian Water Association, so AWA National Water Week. And the theme this year, as a follow-on from the Acknowledgement of Country, is caring for water and country and really acknowledging the traditional owners of this land and the sort of role they play in terms of cultural, you know, understanding and valuing of cultural water. So there's a range of events happening across the country. So for those people based in Australia, feel free to jump into the AWA website and have a bit of a look at what's going on. But yeah, National Water Week is on this week. In terms of sponsoring for these monthly meetups, our company or my company, DiscoverEI, sort of put these events on. And the idea behind it is really to share environmental and water focused examples in both Power BI, but also data analytics in general. So we've been running it for about 12 months now and had a whole range of amazing speakers from across the world, as we have today with Felipe joining us from Brazil, which is fantastic. But in terms of the work that we do, just quickly, we sort of provide Power BI training mentoring. We have Daniel Marsh-Patrick as part of our team who develops custom visuals. Some of you may be familiar with his work. End-to-end sort of Power BI reporting solutions. We bring a lot of graphic design, so data storytelling, as well as also development of custom web apps. So yeah. But most importantly, why you've all joined us today, I've put down it's a breakfast session for us here in Australia, 9 a.m. my local time, but Felipe's just told me it's 7 p.m. his time, so a breakfast/dinner session might be more appropriate. But yeah, really excited to hear from Felipe, who's the data and digital lead at Cetrel in Brazil. And he's going to take us through their, I think it's called the Digital Twin Power BI dashboard, Power BI report, and some of the cool features that the team has built into this. So I think without further ado, Felipe, I might actually stop presenting and give control across to you, mate, if you wanted to sort of take it away from here.
Okay, that's good. I'm just making a very fast change in my presentation because you presented a picture of your country, and I think this is a brilliant idea. Let's just add something here, and here we are going.
Fantastic.
Just a moment, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep, that's just come up.
Oh, good, that's good. So, good morning, good night. My name is Felipe. I'm a geologist from Brazil. I work at Cetrel. It's a Brazilian company, and today I'm going to present kind of a new product, a new concept that we have been developing here using Power BI, using all these technologies that all of you are used to. So let's see what happens. As I said at the beginning, feel free to interrupt me If I say something that doesn't actually make much sense, feel free to ask me and I will try to clarify what I said. Okay. Okay, so let's go. This is a picture of my city. This is Brasilia. It's the capital of Brazil. It's a really beautiful city. I don't live there anymore, but I hope to get back one day. So come to Brazil. It's a really beautiful place. Amazing people, amazing culture. I think you will love here. Okay. Next slide. Just a little bit about Cetrel. We operate in 4 different states here in Brazil. It's a 40 years old company responsible for different kinds of service like supply of water, water treatment, final disposal of effluents and industrial waste, distribution and reuse of water, and environmental management and monitoring of several contaminated sites of Brazil. Cetrel has a digital approach, and it is responsible for some of the main environmental databases here in Brazil. And we are focused on the industry for 4.0. It's something that the whole world is looking for today, and we are trying to do our best here also, using IoT, using databases, and all these new tools that we have at our hand. Okay. This is my team. I must present them. All this presentation, what I'm going to present, wouldn't be possible if it wasn't because of these guys. Calvin and Rodrigo are managers, and the full team here, people related to Power BI, to GIS tools, also dedicated to databases. So we have a great team here. And they make all this possible. Okay, and feel free. Here is our emails after this presentation. Feel free to contact us, and let's make create a new network here. Okay. Okay, so let me talk just a little bit about the usual digital twin. Okay, so what we call the usual digital twin. We are talking about the virtual representation of objects, of build assets. We are talking about IoT. We are talking about real-time data. We talk about the digital correspondent of build assets, of objects, or physical process. We simulate the world, like in this picture, the variation of temperature in a building. I don't know if Fahad has some question. Okay, yeah. We also talk about the integration of systems, data-driven, knowledge-driven, and implemented in robust systems. We talk about something that is really important, real-time and historical data. All this integrated in a single object or in a single product. Something that is really important is this evolution here about the handmade drawing that everyone here saw, at least everyone who is older, just like me. I believe Christian saw the handmade, but we really fast, we saw this changing to CAD, and finally a concept that is not really new, the build information model, but something that due to the evolution of the computer capacities, what we can visualize in BIM or in build information models right now, it's much bigger, it's much better than a few years ago. Okay, so this is kind of what we call the usual digital twin. It's something that, especially when we talk about the BIM in the civil engineering field, has been used for a few years. But can we apply these concepts to the environmental area, to the environmental field? How can we use this, integrate all this information but and apply to the environmental management. And something that all of us here are related to or work to. And that's what I'm going to try to present here. I'm going to present here. Okay. The environmental digital twin. 4 main points here. I'm talking about high resolution in IoT. I'm talking again about visual representation. I'm talking about big data and about geointelligence plus the build information model. When we talk about the high resolution, for example, the use of drones, the use of high resolution images, all of us are used to create different maps, and thank God there is Google and all this whole world imagery available to us. But for some situations, we need high resolution images in order to detect, for example, some sources of contamination in our client sites. We also need some techniques like the AEDT, some high resolution data collection to understand, for example, in a more complex geological set situation, we need high resolution data to understand how our substance, our contamination is going to move. We need to understand how this is going, maybe in a few different centimeters, for example. So we need this high resolution data, okay? Also important, or really important, is the visual representation. Most of the decision making is based on the visual representation. It's not worth it collect thousands of data and present in spreadsheets. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't give any information. So we need to create, for example, digital models, 3D models. We need to create some charts, some kind of visualizations that help us understand or summarize the data and take some decision, okay? All of these concepts definitely are related to big data. We are talking here about laboratory chemical analysis, field analysis. We are talking about different type of samples, water, soil, sediment, air. We are talking about lithology. So there are a lot of different types of data that we need to collect, to organize, to manage, and to present in order to take a few good decisions, especially when we talk about the remediation of sites. We need all this data, and it's pretty easy, especially when we talk about IoT, for example. It's really easy to get databases bigger than 100 million lines. Like I gave this example of the remediation systems. For example, air monitoring, water quality monitoring. If we install some systems, some IoT systems, really fast, we are talking about huge databases. Okay, and at the end, but definitely also important, we are talking about the geointelligence, and we are talking about the build information model. What we try to do here, take all these concepts and integrate in a single product. It's not just a dashboard. I'm here not to present just a dashboard, but to present this little shift of concept from the construction of a building using the classical BIM to the management of a contaminated site, for example. Okay. Am I clear, Christian? Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. It's really good explanation of sort of, the different processes and challenges that we all have to face. So thanks, Felipe. Great.
Okay, so let's go to the example. I'm going to take this. Let me see. Here. Example is available to everyone. I'm going to paste here in the chat. Please try to access. Try it, Christian, please, and tell me if there is any problem. Also, who wants to access using the cell phone, you can try this QR code.
Yeah, it worked for me, Philippe, so I'm getting in there.
Okay, great. So I'm going to shift my window here to the Power BI, okay? Let me take this window here. So I hope you're seeing something like this.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, good. So what we have here, something that most of us are used to develop, to see in dashboards. So for example, one point that is important. I'm sorry because it's not in English. I forgot to make this translation. So if you have, I will try to explain what we have here in the dashboard. If you have any questions, I will answer here, okay? Okay, so what we have here, we have the concentration of different substances. Here, it's all of this data is hypothetical. So we have the variation of a few of one substance in different points during, I don't know, a few months of 2020, okay. I have the contaminated mass of two substances here, dissolved or retained in the soil. I also have, Christian, I believe you recognize this here.
Yeah, that looks a bit familiar.
You know what's this? So here I have the geological section of my monitoring wheels. I almost forgot. So the geological section of our monitoring wheels with the water level. And also here I have an example of what would be an IoT data, real-time data. I'm just going to see if it's going to work. Yes, it's going to work. Okay. Also here, I have a map, a classical map, but I have different plumes here from different periods of the year. Okay, so I can change here from the first period of the year to the second period. That's going to see the plume change. Okay, so it changed a little bit. Okay, and here I have the full 3D or digital representation of our place, of our site. Okay. I really love the. Kristen, how do you say when we are presenting in real time? It's not recorded. I'm doing right now. I don't know how to.
A live session.
Live, yeah, live sessions. It's
live,
always
live
complicated.
demos.
Yes, so I'm going to refresh my dash because it's just frozen. Just a moment.
It definitely happens to the best. I mean, you know, we've all been to those Microsoft conferences and stuff, and the best have their challenges. So no, this is great. This is looking really, really good, Felipe. Excellent work. While I've got you, I think Fahad, you had your hand up earlier. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask Felipe at this stage? Okay, maybe
yes,
not.
Yes, I do.
Oh, sorry. Please go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so Felipe, my name is Fahad, and I'm a business analyst, and now also working as a project manager for engineering consulting company.
Okay.
So I have been joining Christian events so far on and off, and I have missed out few too. So this is actually I'm finding myself lucky that I did actually join this, and you're showing some really great engineering presentation. So my question is, I am working for engineering consulting company. So since you just mentioned about the big data, how this big data would relate to engineering industry? And you did mention about the soil level, geotechnical factors, environmental factors. So just wanted to say if you can just say in one line and two words in high level information, so I could just will get something out of this presentation, and I'll raise this in my company. Like these are the factors we should also have it, because now since you have been working for a while, So just want to have 1 and 2 lines from you that how do you see how this will contribute to the engineering industry? I'm getting an idea from you that is really great, and then that has opened my mind to that. So I just thought I should raise this question from you, and just want to know in very few words that how it would relate to the engineering industry in terms of environmental factors, geofactors, land and soil factors, how we will use, we will explore the data, how we will run the data, manage the data, and then how we will transform that data to make it a valuable information which could be useful for engineering industry. I hope it was a detailed question, but I hope I could make you understand what I was trying to ask. Sorry.
No, thank you. That's good. Philippe, please.
It's a good question, but it's a huge question. It's not that easy to answer. Crystal, feel free to help me here. Hey, look, this is the application of the BIM, the Building Information Model, to the environmental field. What I can say here about the engineering area. Sorry?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I was listening.
Okay. Look, the main point here is the data integration. As you're going to see here, as I present, we can integrate a lot of different information in just a small visual. It's just a small window, and I'm presenting here a few months data, different types like geological, chemical analysis. I can merge IoT here. So I really don't have an example for the engineering field, but if you look for, I'm going to also, at the end of the presentation, show our partners here, and one of them have a lot of different examples applied to the engineering field. So for example, when you talk about this, the BIM, you can monitor the variation, the temperature variation in your buildings. You can monitor how many doors you have and how your desks are distributed in a building, how is the airflow. So it's really a wide horizon of what you can do with this. And when you asked about how can we manage, for example, here we have a specific partner. I'm going to say all the name of our partners here at the end, but specific partners which help us with the database. So we have a full system dedicated to store and manage this data. How do we present? Most of them we use the Power BI. So it's actually which data you have, what do you want to know, what do you have to know, what do you have to monitor. There are a lot of different tools available. There is Power BI, but there are a lot of other options, a lot of different databases. It really depends on what you have to do.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Fahad, just to build on that as well. Given sort of my background in environmental consulting, like contaminated land management and remediation as well, what I see is the big advantage of what we can see on the screen and this digital representation is it translates the traditional 200-page PDF reports that would have, these geological borelog cross sections individually. It would have sort of time series charts individually, maps and plume representation individually, and it makes it hard to communicate and translate where your problem areas are, where your source area is, what your pathways are. Whereas at least here, we're starting to get that, environmental story, so to speak. And I think it's done really well from this quick glimpse, even though I can't understand the Portuguese. It's you know the charts, and it's I guess it's familiar visuals to environmental people.
No, I really apologize. I know this conversation is going a little bit far. I know it's a really impressive presentation clip you have made, and the question I have asked is high level question. It has a lot of dynamics. It will lead to different channels, and I'll stick maybe in other times when we'll have time, then I'll raise this question with you. But just one last question I want to know: any platform? Question from both actually, Christian and Philippe. If I need to get information about environmental numbers, geotechnical numbers, land surveys, and how these numbers are affecting to our environment, do we have any platform where we could get that information from, and then I could translate that information into Power BI? Okay, that's how it is affecting. like increasing
you mean like a software, like some service to help you understand this?
Yes, yeah. I just need a data like on that, how it is affecting to our environment, how it is leading to affect. For example, why if we don't actually if you don't actually highlight this while doing construction, while doing any development on Earth or on the ground, so this might lead to significant things. So that's what I'm just trying to capture.
Hey, Christian, I think another complex answer.
Yeah. I think it's
Look,
sorry, you go, Felipe, just quickly.
No, just going to say that actually this might be the point of a meeting dedicated to this, to understand what is your necessity, what your company is doing, because it's really hard to understand this if we don't understand what you're doing, where you are. So it's really, we need a dedicated meeting to answer your question. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Do
But
you agree, Christian?
Yeah, no, I do, and but no, Fahad, they're really good questions, because I suppose in this example, Power BI isn't going to be your solution for everything, so it is very much a custom per project, per design. But no, thanks for your questions. I think we'll just move on, Felipe. Well, is it okay if we ask just a few more questions that we have in the chat now, or would you like to continue with the presentation?
Feel free. We scheduled 1 hour, so
yeah, excellent.
You're welcome.
We've got one from Patrick Booth, who good to have you on again, Pat. He wants to know, is the 3D proprietary custom visual? I think he means the BIM on the left.
This is VCAD. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to send a link after the presentation I put here, but I'm good. There is a slide showing our partners here. But
excellent.
Yes.
So Pat, we'll get into the VCAD Viewer, I think, later on. And then just last question, can you give an example of predictive capabilities of the environmental digital twin at any capacity or level analytics? I guess like predictive capabilities or forecasting in terms of this tool. Is any of that being built in, Felipe?
Right now, I don't have an example here, but as any other kind of data, consider that we have historical, So considering that we have historical data, we have a long-term monitoring, we definitely can use this approach and make predictive analysis. There is a lot of examples about this, not implemented here, but it's possible. Definitely possible.
Exactly right. I think the incorporation, and Microsoft are doing it with their Power BI updates, like bringing in machine learning opportunities and that intelligence based on, historical data sets, is a super powerful approach and, example of what we can build in. That was really good interim Q&A session, mate. I might let you just continue with the presentation now.
Okay, let's go.
Answers. And thanks for your questions. Back to you, Felipe. Sorry.
Okay, so look, the main point here is definitely the 3D representation. So here, what do you have? The environment represented here. So I have a river here. I have an area with no constructions. I have a site here, some kind of plant with different tanks, underground, above ground, and I have a few houses here. So some community next to this site, okay? And what we created here, help Microsoft, help me please, not today. So for example, let me take out I would like to show the plume here and here. Here. Well, just because I'd like to present, it's not that. Let's go. I want to show the plume. Where is it? Oh, come on, here.
Oh, excellent. Looks nice.
So here I have a plume underneath this site, okay? So I can see a clear relation between our site and some contamination, some soil contamination, okay? And as I said, what's something really interesting about using this approach? Right here, I have a few monitoring wheels. I don't know if you can see it. I have a few of them here, okay? And I can, by clicking on them, present their data, okay? So let me put here again. So for example, I'd like to see how some substance, it doesn't matter which one, how it has been, how was it? I don't know how to say, how its variation in the last month. So I can click here, let me put a filter and click here. So here, I just clicked on this monitoring view and I saw just its data. So I can see, for example, that in April 1st and May 1st, actually it didn't respect the limit. So the limit was 150 and we got 153 and 158. Oh, let's see another monitoring wheel. Let's see this one. So this one's going much better, okay? What else can I do here? For example, I have some monitoring our lake. Is it our lake doing good, doing well? I can, oh, this one, there is no data for it. But for example, talking about the lake, I can combine here some IoT, some real-time data. So I can put this lago, it's lake in Portuguese, and let's watch the data variation. So let's suppose that in a single day, you are monitoring, no, not in a single day, maybe one analysis per day, something like that, maybe turbidity. That is really important, that can vary in a single day, actually. This is a good example. I can monitor how is it going during the day. So I can open my dashboard and let's see how is it going, okay? This is an example. Let's put here. I can filter this visual to present me just a few. Okay. I'd really like to see just my plum here. Oh, I got it. That was trying to do that time. So I can combine and see also my monitoring views here. And so I can see there is a clear relation between some of them and the hotspots of my plumes. So what's going here? And this is something really interesting, because if I add my build assets here, for example, this is a good one. Is there some relationship between these tanks and this contamination? It's a question we can make. It's something that if we see here, I can the next day ask someone to get up that tank and check if there is some source of contamination. Is there something happening here? Do I have to repair this tank? Or for example, right here, this is clear to this hotspot is close to this box. Is there something happening here? Is it a source of contamination? So I can check this here, okay? Also, and this is very lucky, it's what we want to see every time. Our plume here, let me put this visualization here. Here. So let me take out just the physical. Construir layer physical. I just trying to remove this green area here, so we can see just the plume and the build assets. Just a moment, please.
No, take your time, Felipe. I think this representation. I mean, this is really, really good. I haven't seen this sort of thing before. It looks fantastic. This VCAD viewer.
Yeah, so there is definitely some space for improvement. This is still a proof of concept, but what it's really interesting here, because it's that I can combine really different types of data in the single dashboard. There is no correlation between these maps and this one. This really an example, but I could present the 3D representation here and also the maps at this side, so I can compare this data. Also something that we still don't have here, but it's definitely possible, and we are starting to explore here. I'm just presenting the environmental data, for example. So the concentration of substance, the contamination mass, but something that I could do is add some information about the tanks, for example. Which was the last time this tank was inspected? Inspected, Christian. The last time someone got here and was
inspected. Yeah.
So when was the last time it was inspected? And as I presented here, as I showed, the plume is right here. So this is a really important information. When we are doing the site management, it's important to see what are the next actions that we need to be sure that there is no contamination, that we're not seeing something that's not happening, that's happening that we can't see. Okay, so this is pretty much what is interesting about this. And I showed the lake here. Also, for example, I can have other 2 monitoring points in the river, and for example here, the Rio. I can talk again about the turbidity, for example. I can talk about, let's say, for example, that I have some output, some waste output of my site in this river after some treatment, and I can monitor what's happening to the water quality during all the day doing this. Okay. What else? What else? Well, I believe it's pretty much this, Christian. We are still developing this. Our next step here, we added the monitoring points. This is a hypothetical example, but for our clients, we are doing the same thing. And right now we are trying to add the sources of contamination. So as I said, is this tank a source? And we are adding to the data model this information. We go to the field, we map these sources of contamination, and right now we are adding this information here. So what is our expectation for the future? To click, for example, in this tank, and I can do this, for example, when I click here, this is a single, these 6 tanks are grouped in one object. Let me see, there is separated. This is separated. I can click here, and if it's a source of contamination, I can tell when it started, what it's been doing. I can add photos. For example, here I don't have any photo presentation, but I can do this. I don't know how much familiar everyone is with Power BI, but I could use, for example, a tooltip here and present some photos of this source of contamination. Okay.
Does sorry to interrupt, Fleet. Does VCAD allow for like drill through? So you could drill through on that asset to another page and get more information about that particular asset, or
not in this version. Not in this version, but recently, I just forgot the name of its creator. It's a shame on me. But there is a new version. It's bad because it's a really good visual. I really would like to tell the name of everyone here. But there is a new version and I didn't try yet, so I have to check if it's possible.
Yeah, no, this is really cool because you mentioned obviously this is a custom visual, and I know some custom visuals have limitations in terms of tooltips, for instance. And so the fact that you can, put tooltips and get that extra context on, the assets and that digital representation of, these terminal tanks and what you're looking at is really, really cool. That's fantastic.
But something really important about this visual, it has been on market for a year. I believe something like this. It's really new, and it's getting a lot of attention. I saw a lot of a few versions being released. So I believe in the few next months or even the next year, we're going to see a huge evolution of this visual. So I'm really excited about what we can do here.
Yeah. Can I ask, Felipe, in terms, how does the VCAD Viewer visual work in terms of licensing and creating sort of those base layers? How does all that work?
Okay, so VCAD right now we have to pay for a few. It's a little bit different of all the visuals we are used to do, because when I open this, actually it accesses a database, online database, and brings my data. So I depend on some slots. I pay for a slot. I pay for a place to have this published so I can use it.
Yep.
I don't have the pricing here. I can send you, but actually I believe in the site that this information is available. But it's based on slots, and
yeah,
well, it's something that we have to manage a few times here.
Yeah, no,
it's getting attention.
No, it's good, but it adds serious value to, like, the story it tells. So I think it's good. Thanks.
Okay, good. Let me see if there is any. And well, as I said, for example, something that I'm not presenting here, and I actually today tried to add, but it wasn't possible. But I'd like to present some information about these build assets, especially what we can see here. It's about just environmental data, and this link between the build assets and the environment, it's important to do correct good site management. So it's some evolution that we are looking for in our private dashboards for our clients. It's something that we are developing, and well, I believe this is it.
No, that's fantastic. Like, thanks a lot for that, like, for sharing that with us. This is, like I said, really unique report, packed full of environmental data, and yeah, for me, I haven't really seen information presented holistically like this. Much across our industry. So I think, it's full testament to you and the team. This looks really, really cool. Maybe, I don't know if there's any questions at the moment. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to come off mute. But I've just got one. So it looks like, can you just run us through what the custom visuals are on this page? Because it looks like you've got a fair few that you're using here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go. One that I didn't mention, but it's really important here. Oh gosh. What is the name?
The icon map.
English icon map. Thank you, Kristen. Definitely. This visual has been really important for most of our dashboards here, because it's a huge new word about map presentation, GIS representation. Here we have, I think you're going to, it's good for you to talk about this one here. It's a visual by Enviro AI. DiscoverEI, I'm sorry, DiscoverEI.
Yeah, no, this is
Enviro Discover.
Yeah.
So
this is our, like you said, geological borelog visual. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so, for example, here, let me take one that have a. So for I just click here on PM07. I can present the types of sand that I have in my monitoring wheel, where is the screen of my monitoring wheel. So this is pretty amazing. Something that we use all the time, definitely, it's the water level or the free phase We use this for really different cases here. This one here, I found it on the Microsoft Market. Let me see if I can get its name here. Just a moment. The play axis. So it's a really good vision that we can add the data with not just time, not just putting time in the axis, but any other kind of variation, and we can ask it to play. So here I added here to give an example of an IoT if it's working, but I can use, for example, a direct query to our database and have a similar example here. So it's just a representation of what we are doing, some examples here with IoT. This is a classical one. These two are classics. IconMap, VCAD. I believe that in a classical table.
Yeah, that's really
something. Your question is really good, Christian, because and maybe it goes towards what Fahad. I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name correctly, but this is a good example of integration of several different tools, several different technologies. We have a few, if you say one company, another company, another one, I believe this one is another one also. We have some database behind this. So there is a lot of different technology merged here to create this single representation of our site, of the sites that we have to manage. So it's really when we ask what tools are available or give some example, actually this is the result of a really huge and complex process. Different teams, different companies, different technologies. It's not quite easy to get here actually.
Yeah, and sorry, Felipe, I'll just jump in as well. So some of our audience members generally are sort of new to Power BI. So just for people's understanding, Microsoft have within Power BI out of the box standard visuals, like their core visuals. And then we also have options to get more visuals from the app source or the marketplace, and they're referred to as custom visuals. Depending on your organization, sort of data governance protocols, you may or may not be allowed to use these custom visuals. There's both approved by Microsoft and uncertified custom visuals. They're not that different from I guess, I'm not a custom visual expert, but from a security perspective, they're both considered relatively safe, but some organizations will shut off the use and availability of some of these custom visuals. So if you are going to go down this route and you like what you see, in terms of the way that information is being presented here by Felipe and the Cetrel team, just make sure that you have access to some of those custom visuals. Otherwise, you might be a bit limited, especially what we found. You touched on the IconMap, Felipe, that the mapping capabilities within Power BI for showing environmental data still have quite a long way to go, I feel. But the use of things like Mapbox, which might actually become deprecated soon, is my understanding, but also IconMap does help us sort of head towards this a lot more. So no, it's really, really good. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone on the call? Unless, Felipe, you wanted to sort of share either more about this tool or if you had any finishing slides.
No,
otherwise,
just a finishing slide, actually.
Yep.
Let me get back here. So I told all the time here, so we have some great partners here. Christian, thank you. Your visual is amazing. So we have DiscoverEI, we have CTech, that plume that we are presenting there, it's actually an example of CTech, of the EVS software. It's something that we use here all the time. EarthSoft, it's a huge partner of Cetrel. All our environmental data is in EarthSoft database, Aquis. And talking about that 3D model, we are talking about the VCAD, which is produced by the B-Logic. And I'm sorry, I really forgotten to add the icon map here. And there is
James
definitely
James Dale.
He just a few months ago, he released a huge new version of icon map.
Yeah,
So there is a big difference between.
Yeah,
So
I think
I had to add it here.
Sorry, Pat Booth just writes a comment. Yeah, the features that James has now put into Icon Map V3 will cover 99% of what the Mapbox visual does. So yeah, I agree with that, Pat. And
so
James.
Bye Mapbox.
Yeah. But no, you're spot on. James, he runs the London Power BI, the UK Power BI user group for anyone unfamiliar with him, and he manages that icon map and puts a lot of effort into both maintaining it, updating it. So I'll drop his website in the thing. Feel free to have a play with it. Just a tip, download the icon map from the website rather than the marketplace, because that's where he keeps it up to date. And yeah, buy him a coffee because he does fantastic work. So yeah, a virtual coffee.
Yeah, I just love it, that idea of the virtual coffee. I have never seen that. It's really good. So okay, that's it. Oops. Thanks for presentation. I hope these small and with all these little problems here that we are working on. But I really hope that you like the presentation. Feel free to contact me if you need, I don't know, maybe we can schedule a more dedicated meeting. And well, that's it. Christian, thank you so much for the presentation, for the opportunity. Sorry. I really like to be here. Okay.
No, Philippe, pleasure is ours to have you on board. Thanks very much for your session. There's a lot of applause coming through with the gestures. That was, yeah, I think a really powerful and fantastic way to, that you guys are showing environmental data. So I think a lot of the listeners would have hopefully taken a lot away from that session. I know I definitely did. And yeah, I'll include, obviously, thanks for making your contact details available, Philippe. I'll make sure I include that as part of the blog write-up and in the description of the YouTube. So thanks very much, Fahad. If you wanted to stop sharing now, and I'll just close the session just by sharing my screen and just a few final slides. But thanks again, Philippe. That was great.
But so bye. See you next time. And hope to see you soon.
So what have we got? Just bear with us a sec. Yep. So thanks again, Felipe, and the Cetrel team. For obviously, we've recorded the session, so thanks everyone for tuning in and listening to it live, and for your very interesting questions coming in from across the world. It's fantastic. We'll make this available probably later this week. It's tomorrow, hopefully. You can either get it on the blog with a bit of a summary text as well, or the recording linked up to the YouTube. For next month, we actually have an opening. So if you do want to share your sort of environmental data story, doesn't have to be Power BI, can be any sort of tools. If you got cool GIS, Carto, Tableau, even examples, we don't sort of hold against any of the platforms. I guess it's more just an opportunity to share what are some quite interesting, innovative solutions for showing environmental and water data, across our industry, both either within Australia or globally. So feel free to send me an email if you have an interest. For a future session, we'd be great to hear from you. And that was it. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And again, thanks a lot, Felipe. That was a fantastic session, and I think I definitely enjoyed it, and I think everyone else would have really enjoyed it as well. So thanks everyone. If there's no other questions, feel free to leave and enjoy your days or your evenings wherever you are in the world. And I'll just stop sharing now as well, and I'll stop the recording, and I'm happy to stay on for another 5 minutes if anyone has any sort of questions or just wants